continue here. For the longest time, we've been discussing the poaching issue. And you indeed, as a person who has also worked in KWS, has intense experience in this area. This is your docket under your ministry, and so welcome to studio.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Richard, let's start with poaching and the fact that we've seen the numbers increase this year. Dr. Why is this? What's going on? And especially in view of the fact that we thought with a change in legislation that we would see numbers reducing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. First of all, before I even talk about poaching, let me take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate Kenya Wildlife Service men and women who on a daily basis are in the field, those very, very difficult terrains, protecting and conserving our wildlife in very, very difficult circumstances. The issue of poaching is that poaching has changed. It has metamorphosed. The poaching we are talking about 1970s is different from the poaching we are talking about today. And it is true, as a government, particularly the Parliamentary Committee of Natural Resources and Environment, really supported us to ensure that we enacted an Act of Parliament, Wildlife Conservation Act 2013, which has brought on board stiffer penalties for those who trade in illegal trophies, stiffer penalties for those who are engaged in poaching, and also to support communities and allow them to participate and benefit from wildlife in this country. Yes, this year alone, for example, we have lost 18 rhinos. It is very, very unfortunate. It is unacceptable. We have lost about 59 elephants. One, we are saying that poaching has become and has taken an international dimension. In fact, Kenya lost these 18 rhinos between January and to date. In South Africa today, up to yesterday, they have lost 180 rhinos. And there are so many reasons for this. Some are international, some are local, and even some are regional. One reason for the spike in poaching is one, CITES in the past decided to downgrade the protection of the elephant from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2. This was to allow some African range states to dispose some of their stockpiles. This has given room for other individuals really to benefit out of this, and therefore they are looking for elephant trophies wherever they are. Two, the price of ivory and rhino horn has gone up tenfold. In fact, 1 kilo of rhino horn is now 6 million Kenya shillings. In fact, I'm not saying this so that I create appetite for those who are not poachers to go for it.
We certainly hope there
I'm trying to say that that price is really a challenge to us. And particularly individuals from the Far East, we are talking about China, Malaysia, India. These countries' economies have grown in the last couple of years, and it has created a middle class, an affluent middle class, that really wants to get ivory, wants to get rhino horn.
It's a sign of status.
Yeah, a sign of status and that kind of thing.
Now, those are two key issues you've brought out already. Before we even move on, you've spoken about KWS and the work that they do in incredibly difficult circumstances. Let's talk about how to build the capacity of this institution in terms of technology, in terms of training, in terms even of feet on the ground, because we know there are not enough officers patrolling the country. And finally, how do we weed out the corrupt who actually are endangering the lives of the other officers within the KWS?
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. One, KWS has been a gem. It has been a great jewel. It has been a great parastatal with great men and women. And indeed, it has grown from a small institution to one of the biggest and powerful and strong institutions in this country, whose mandate is to protect, conserve wildlife, and also protect our visitors who visit this country. What we are doing as a government, first, we decided to have a crack unit, and we established a crack unit of 120 men, combined of Kenya Wildlife Service best officers, GSU, crack unit, administration police.
Okay.
And as we speak now, we have, last week, we also established a rapid response unit of 400 men who will join this crack unit. And I think once we modernize and provide them with modern equipment, definitely within 3 months, we look forward actually to ensure that they will control this.
When is that happening? Because technology is one of the key factors.
One thing, Julie, is that I appreciate we need to embrace technology in all these aspects. And KWS in the last 1 month has gotten presentations on how to bring on board cameras, how to bring on board drones, how to enhance and upgrade its security fences. And we believe that probably within the next couple of, let me put it, within the next 1 month, we are definitely going to see to it that we not only embrace technology in these areas, but even provide them with modern equipment. For example, night vision goggles. Our poachers, as sophisticated as they are now, have the audacity to walk into Nairobi National Park, walk into Nakuru National Park at midnight and use only one single bullet to the heart of a rhino, which means that definitely those guys are not using normal equipment. They must be using night vision goggles. They must be using telescopic guns. And what we are saying here is that already we are getting from our supporters, particularly the donor community, about 600 night vision goggles. We're also going to advertise next after Easter. We're also going to advertise for several, so that we provide our rangers with night vision goggles.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yes. Let me also add maybe another one. Yesterday we started recruiting 600 men and women from National Youth Service. We have only 2,700 rangers in Kenya Wildlife Service to take care of almost 8% of this country in terms of managing and conserving our wildlife. It is not possible for them to do it. And these 2,700, some of them are elderly, some of these fellows are the ones at the gates, some of them are manning the radios. So we only have almost, I think, a number of less than 1,000 very agile and strong men. And that's why we are bringing on board 600 men.
So 600 must just be the start.
It is the beginning. In fact, it's the beginning. We decided to take this extraordinary measure to get them from from National Youth Service, because these young men and women in National Youth Service have gone through drills. They have been trained for 3 months. They already know all the drills. What we need to do is to take them to Manyani to go now and learn other skills, arms and bushcraft. And we are in 3 months or 4 months, they should be in our parks and support these other men and women who are already
Richard, all this is very reassuring, and I think the goodwill of the country is certainly with KWS and with the anti-poaching effort. So people will be happy to hear this is happening. But let's talk about now the big players behind poaching. And many of us hear that they've been in this industry for decades now. These are not people who are necessarily new to this. They've been doing it for a long time. You've been at the KWS. You probably have a lot of information on what goes on. And how do we deal with this from the top? How do we actually ensure that we are prosecuting and putting into jail the people responsible for spearheading poaching in Kenya?
Thank you very much, Julie. Like any other international trade, because trading in illegal trophies is actually now international. In fact, it's at the level of drugs, cocaine, it is also the level of human trafficking. It is actually a very, very lucrative trade. And of course, the players will definitely be international. Probably we are actually dealing with the pawns here. But the point here is that as a government, we are very responsive. We appreciate that there is information out there that there are some individuals who are involved. They are suspects.
We are told local businessmen. We are told MP and MPs. And actually, we've had certain information, but it seems that the information comes out but is never acted on.
I think, Julie, let me correct this. We are a government, and a government has got systems of working. Government has procedures. To some extent, sometimes government has monopoly, sometimes of even information. And I think in other parts of the world, government has a monopoly of violence. But what I'm trying to say is that we are a democratic state. We are a country that goes through elections properly, appoints its officers properly, and therefore, when we have to deal with any situation, we must process information properly. We must get the correct data. We must have evidence. We must have empirical facts. And therefore, it is not fair for us sometimes to peddle names, sometimes to insinuate certain things happening. When we get this information, when we have names, even from the community, from individuals, what we do, we channel it properly to government institutions and agencies. And the names we have heard, and I don't want to be quoted here because I think you are putting words in my mouth that there is an MP, there is a certain businessman, there is another. I don't think that is correct. I think whatever names we have, we provide it and give it to National Intelligence Service.
So you're saying due process. Let's follow due process.
And therefore, we have to follow due process. And therefore, what we do as Kenya Wildlife Service is actually to also look at internal operation of Kenya Wildlife Service. If we have a few bad apples, because it's possible, there is no institution which does not have bad apples. There is no family that has got no individuals who are a problem. And therefore, what we do is that we have to have a due process of how to go about it. And KWS, for example, as we speak today, 32 officers were suspended. They were all investigated. 18 of them were actually found to be in one way or another involved or maybe complacent, in matters
so it
poaching.
is happening.
And those 18 have been dismissed.
Let me move you on now. And thank you so much. You've given us a lot of insight into the war on poaching. Let's move to water, which is a critical issue that doesn't get enough attention. Huge challenges across the country. And of course, water is basic for life. Right now in Turkana, we see the potential, we're told, of the water in the aquifers within the county. But when will it come up? When will we actually see taps with running water for the people, for instance, of Turkana? This is a problem, of course, that is reflected across the country. What's happening with water?
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Probably before I even go to water, I want to talk about, to have a clarion call to Kenyans on the issue of poaching. That wildlife is our heritage. We need to protect and conserve the elephants, the rhinos, the lions. In fact, Kenya should be the last frontier of wildlife working in its natural state that the whole world should come and watch. And I want to say this, that our development partners should come and support Kenya Wildlife Service, should come and support us as a ministry, provide us with equipment, support us in areas we have failed, capacity building, because so many have done it, and I want to assure them that as a government, we are now in Kenya Wildlife Service to see to it that whatever you can give us, whatever support you give us, we are going to really to plow it to ensure that we protect this wildlife forever. I
can assure you that Kenyans are with you in the anti-poaching effort. So, and I will share the contacts, the social media contacts for KWS and for Richard Lesiyampe as well. Water, Dr.
Thank you very much. It happens that our ministry is now the Ministry of Environment, Water and Natural Resources, one of the most powerful ministries in this country. I know probably you'll say that National Treasury is more powerful than us, but it's powerful because, one, we are dealing with everything human being. When you talk about water, water is life. When you talk about the elephants, we are talking about animals, Kenyans benefit out of it.
The natural heritage of this country.
When you talk about regional authorities, it's under this ministry. Kenya Forest Service, 60% of Kenyans depend on wood or fuel. So indeed, we are an amalgamation of former 4 ministries, and indeed water is a very, very critical component of this state ministry. Now, going to Turkana, we agree as a government and as a people, 50 years after independence, we should not have photographs and pictures of an elderly Turkana woman, or a Rendile, or a Samburu, or a Pokot in northern Kenya, really going down a well 30 feet down to collect dirty water.
So what are you doing about it?
And therefore, as a ministry and as a government, we have initiated several surveys in Turkana, and we discovered 5 aquifers. And as we speak now, we have drilled 1 aquifer at Napu, about 6 kilometers from Lodwar. We have laid down pipes up to Lodwar town. And we are getting 65,000 liters of water per day out of that 1 single aquifer. And it's already in Lodwar town. What we are doing is that we want also to support communities along the 6-kilometer pipeline, so that we provide also communities along that pipeline to have enough water. We also have, and this aquifer, in fact, one of them at Napu has got 10 billion cubic meters of water. And therefore, what is very, very critical for us as a government is really to put in resources, and also we are calling upon other development partners so that we can indeed drill the other 3 boreholes, equip them, and get this water out.
The other challenge, Richard, is of course the infrastructure or the lack of infrastructure in the area, and how just to get access to this water, to the different communities, many of whom are pastoralists?
Yes.
How can that be achieved?
Julie, we are working as a whole government. And it's not only the Ministry of Environment and Water and Natural Resources that actually should participate in this. We are bringing on board Ministry of Agriculture. We are bringing on board Ministry of Livestock. We are bringing on board Ministry of Infrastructure, because we need the roads. You know, we need the agriculturists to come and support these people so they can have irrigations in this area. And therefore, we also need the international community and the development partners. As we speak now, we have a master plan, a 50-year master plan of water for Kenya. And the development partners are actually coming on board really to support us, give us even funds to lay down the total infrastructure for this region. And we are not talking about Turkana only. We're also talking about Marsabit. In fact, our surveys have also given indications that we have substantial amount of underground water in Marsabit, substantial amount of water in Ijara, and even Kwale. And therefore, as a government, we are going to mobilize resources. We are going to mobilize the private sector. We are going to mobilize everyone really to see to it that Kenya gets 100% water coverage. As we speak now, we are only 53% water covered. 20 million Kenyans cannot access clean and safe water. And this is our commitment as a government, it's our commitment as a ministry that we are going to do everything possible to ensure that we don't only provide Kenyans with clean water, but also provide them with water for irrigation to bring food security.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to stop you there. We end on that positive note that it has been found that there are substantial sources of water in Marsabit as well as Turkana, in Ijara and in Kwale as well, areas we know that have challenges, huge challenges. And so we thank you for coming in to discuss poaching and water, and we welcome you back to discuss other environmental issues and climate change, which is critical. Asante sana, Richard, for joining us on the show.